Hello, I'm your host, Nicole Weaver. This is the very first episode of the Black by Reality podcast. So, thank you for joining me on this journey. And today we are going to wrap up a historical reality show, Netflix reality show, The Ultimatum. I know The Ultimatum Queer Love. The finale and the reunion's been out for a little bit. And because of that, we're also going to give even further updates than what we saw on the show. Joining me to talk about this season is Alisha, she, they pronouns. Alisha is a writer, poet, and artist from Brooklyn, New York. She is a queer, non binary femme working on her first book, and she loves matcha lattes, cartoons, and Afrofuturism. She's also my bestie. Hi, Alisha.
Hi. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to talk about this season that gave us so much and a little bit we missed out on, I feel, but what as these are real people, so the ones we want to keep catching up on, we can. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited to talk about this show. I think this was the best Netflix reality dating show so far, in
It's a
my
big
opinion.
statement. It's a big statement.
I mean, I haven't seen them all. I've only
Yeah.
seen Love is Blind, this, and Dating
Yeah.
Around. Dating Around is another great one. But I
Rest
feel
in
like
peace.
this, what was that?
I said rest in peace to that
I
show.
know. I keep hoping it's gonna come back. But yeah, I feel like this show brought out a lot of nuances around like long-term queer committed relationships, but they also blocked a lot of conversations that could have happened, I feel, within so but we can get to that later. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this, to dive into this.
All right, we're going to dive in by couple and start really with the last two episodes. And with that, we can then talk about the whole season as a whole. So, first of all, our host, Joanna Garcia Swisher, our straight host.
I just feel like it was a missed opportunity. They could have had a queer host. Like, why not have a queer host? What was that about?
I think it was honestly Netflix trying to be like the straights feel comfortable, because not only did they just find a straight white woman for this, they found like the straightest, I feel. Like she was she was on Reba years ago being the
Oh, that's where she's from. I was like, she looks
exactly.
familiar, but I didn't know where. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. She
A single mom who works too hard, who loves her kids and never stops.
yes. And she was
Yes,
the one who like got pregnant, had a
yes.
dumb boyfriend. And now she's on Sweet Magnolias, which is another Netflix
Okay.
show. And it's very, they're in the South, like it's very, they might not talk about a religion a lot, but it's like a Christian show. I think they were weirdly trying to
Mm,
court that viewership in, which is like,
I see.
and The Bachelor does this too. It's like really trying to get everyone in instead of just narrowing down on like the true audience of this. And when you do that, you really risk losing everyone because you're trying to ride
Right.
a line. Yeah.
Ride both trains, you said?
I said ride a line, but yeah, so
Oh.
like it's fence sitting. That's what it is. It's not riding the line. It's
Mm,
fence sitting.
yeah, I feel like there were so many hosts that they could have chosen. Even could have chosen like a queer person who has been on a reality show before to be the host. Like that would have been interesting. But yeah, it was a missed opportunity. At times I felt like she probably didn't care as much about like the couples. I just feel like there wasn't an investment that probably would have made hosting feel more interesting. And yeah, it was just a missed opportunity for
Agreed.
real.
Agreed. We can talk another episode about if they come back, who they can bring on as a host. But moving on, at the reunion, we start with Lexi and Ray. Their update. They said that the year has been amazing. They moved to California. Ray's leaving behind questions about their future, which makes their relationship easier. And yeah, Lexi admits she was very vulgar in talking about Vanessa and Ray's hookup, apologizes. Um, how did you feel about this update?
See, I mean, that's hard because I know where they are now.
Yes.
So I guess like let me try to rewind to how I felt in the moment first watching this reunion. I am seeing them that they're still together. I guess I felt like, okay, like this is good that they seem to be in a happier place, that they seem to have a better understanding of like who they are together. Um I mean, I feel like their relationship was one of the relationships I didn't like buy. I feel so fucked up saying that, but like it was one of the relationships that I definitely felt like I don't know if this is going to last. It feels like there's things that they both need. Well, first of all, like Ray often felt like uncomfortable being on this show, and that was like a big red flag for me because maybe it was a really big sacrifice for her to come on this show and to be in this space that really didn't seem to suit like how she communicates as a person, and like having cameras on you all the time, like that seems like a lot of stress on any of their relationships, but especially for her as a person. She seemed very quiet at sometimes, very uncomfortable, like it was hard to articulate how she felt. So for me, that was one thing that was just like, I often felt like I don't know who this couple really is because of this landscape that they're being placed in, and how one person in this relationship is not as expressive in this moment, in this environment. And I did wonder if like the affair with Vanessa like added to that, right? Like if that was some, I mean, if maybe them hooking up was a part of like maybe some nerves that Ray needed to release, or I don't know. I don't want to speak for Ray, but back to where they were at the reunion. I think that it was nice to see Lexi happier, because I know throughout the whole season Lexi was stressing out with Ray, and Lexi just really, she kept saying over and over how she wanted to feel chosen. She wanted to feel like Ray was really committing to her in a big way. So in that sense, I was just like, okay, I'm glad that y'all seem to be like that. Your love seems stronger, but I also was just like, I don't know if this is really what Ray wants, because Ray often felt confused about what she wants.
Yeah, I agree. Lexi seemed happier, but Ray, I think I wanted to believe them.
Right,
Like, I really wanted to believe that there was at least another couple that was able to make it out of this. But knowing what we know now, that they're no longer together, um, according to the title card at the very end, um, I still think Lexi was very much like running the show. She was talking more when it came to the update, and Ray did mostly come from just her own experience. It does sound like Ray did this for Lexi, because Ray,
right,
when Lexi was really giving it to her about hooking up with Vanessa, she was like, "You know me, like I'm not the type to like even do a show," and I kind of like pushed myself like out of my like comfort zone for you, like try to give me a little bit of grace. And yeah, and I kind of felt like she was still uncomfortable, especially when they brought in Vanessa to talk about how Lexi felt about that whole situation. I don't even know if Ray even looked in Vanessa's direction. And we know she was scared too with that whole party scene. So
it felt like Ray felt like she had a lot to prove in that relationship.
mm-hmm.
And I think that can become daunting at a point if one person always feels like they're in the wrong and always feels like they're atoning for something. I feel like I misspoke when it came to like the sex scene between like Ray and Vanessa. What I meant was that like I'm wondering if if the anxiousness of being on this show, um, and the excitement of having sex with someone new, if there was something at play there. That's kind of what I meant, you know?
Yeah, and I think Ray said as much on social media after that, of like it happened after a night of like going out and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for both of them, it was just like a might as well
I
situation.
might as well. And I think that like Vanessa was really throwing it. Like she was really throwing the kitty cat. Like she was
Mm-hmm.
really like coming on strong. I think Vanessa Vanessa really wants to explore her sexuality more, which, you know, kudos to that.
Absolutely.
It seems like Xander and Vanessa have an understanding because Xander didn't seem like when it came out that things happened between Vanessa and Ray, Xander was just like, and like, why? Like, and I think it's even problematic that there was so much attention put on what happened and like the descriptions of it. Like, we don't need to know all that. Like, I believe in like y'all can keep your sex lives to yourselves. Like, I feel like it was exploited a lot in
Yeah.
a way that was also making Ray even more uncomfortable, feeling even more guilty. um do you think that, I mean, obviously we saw from how it played out with Lexi that like it was very frustrating for Lexi, understandably so, but I also wonder like if there was that conversation beforehand of like what are the boundaries in being new in these new couples for us, like can we explore physical connections? um Lexi seemed to personally not like the idea of Ray and Vanessa because she just does not trust Vanessa.
Yeah.
But I also still wonder, like, was there that conversation of like, if I'm feeling it and she's feeling it, things might happen.
So Lexi did mention this. She said that Ray unprompted said, I'm not going to do anything with, yeah. And that's why she was trying to hold her accountable so hard of like, I didn't even ask you, you went out of your way, which is something
Yeah.
we'll also hear later on about Yoli. So this is like a
Ooh,
trend. A
Yoli.
whole
We need
trend.
a minute before we even get into Yoli.
I know, but it seems like that happens. You want to reassure your partner that you're not going to hurt them and be specific, but really you can't promise like be
You can't
beware.
promise. You're like
Beware.
living with this person. You're like there's a lot of intimacies happening. You're sleeping in the same bed, you're waking up together, you're also confiding in each other about like either missing your original partner or what the issues were in that original relationship. Like it's really intimate. We see that for some of these couples, they either become friends or there is a lot of like spilling of like this is what's bothering me in my original relationship and this is what I want to work on, and that can lead to feeling comfortable and having sex. Like that can lead to that, right? 3 fucking weeks with one person in a domestic situation, you haven't seen your partner in a minute. Who knows? Like you're probably the kind of person who has like sex with your partner multiple times a day or multiple times a week. Like not to say that like you can't control yourself, but it is hard to keep promises on this show.
You might change your mind. And that's just something you got to be honest with yourself about, which I don't think there was a lot of that going on. I will I will talk a little bit. I'm trying to see. Okay, so we both know. I think at the end of each section, we're just going to give the further update about these people. So we already kind of talked about this, but Lexi's in a new relationship.
She sure is.
The long
Sorry
pause.
for a second. Because I was on Lexi's Instagram and she has these gorgeous lingerie photos. So I was thinking about that for a second.
Yes.
She seems happier.
She seems super happy. Apparently this relationship started from roommates. They were roommates first. So very interesting story. They both seem to be pretty much on the same page of like things. So good for Lexi. Meanwhile, Ray is currently still single. So if any lesbians or
I mean, good for her. Like, shout out to being single. Like, I think honestly, I can sympathize with both of them in that relationship. Like, I feel like they both wanted something that maybe the other wasn't necessarily fulfilling. I can sympathize with Lexi wanting a full-on commitment, and I can sympathize with Ray feeling confused and feeling yeah, like I can sympathize with both of them. So maybe Ray's in a place where she's figuring out herself more, and that's great. And maybe she's dating a couple people, who knows? But shout out to her.
Shout out to her. It seems like a lot of the cast members are actually still cool with her. There's a lot of people who aren't cool with each other. So I think it says a lot that like everyone's like, oh yeah, Ray, like awesome. And her personality totally comes out on social media. It's kind of sad how muted she was during the season. But moving on, we got to Vanessa and Xander next. We find out they don't talk. Vanessa said the experience made her realize that they shouldn't be together. And they both talked about potentially being friends, which is like, these lesbians do not know how to let go. Like,
I mean, they were a pivotal part of each other's lives in terms of like they seemed to be each other's first serious queer relationship. So I can understand it being hard to untangle from that. Like they meant a lot to each other. They were together for a long time. 4 years is a minute to be with one person. And um they grew up together, it seems like, and they knew each other from high school too. So there's a lot of history there that we I realized that, like, at first I was hating on Vanessa, but it got to a point where I'm just like, you know what? There's a lot of history here. It makes sense why this is such an emotional experience. And she seems really heartbroken about the fact that they're not together or not in each other's lives in the way that they used to be. And Xander seems like fully accepting it and like ready to explore what's next.
Interesting. I didn't have the same perspective. I thought Vanessa seemed very at peace, you know? Like the host asked Vanessa first, like, do you guys think, since they were speaking so positively about each other, do you guys think you'll ever revisit this? And it was Vanessa who said, like, no, immediately. And she was just like, yeah, I just realized I wasn't giving my all to you. And this made me realize we shouldn't be together. And like, that's okay. She's still a little sad at like talking about that because it's still, even when I think of my past relationships, it's so jarring from someone to being like your partner to like kind of a stranger. But she seemed like, yeah, no, like I'm moving beyond it. I hope she's living her best like bisexual life because she really did seem like she just wanted to be free and explore.
Yeah, she did seem that way. I mean, you can accept something intellectually, but emotionally, you're still processing it. That's what I got from Vanessa. Like, she was tearing up talking about her feelings about where they're at now. So I think she knows it's the best thing for them not to be together, but I think emotionally it's still hard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, going from that conversation, we go to Yoli and Mal. Mal kicks things off saying that they're happily broken up, okay? Yoli said it took 2 weeks after filming before Mal went home with a one-way ticket, which I believe Mal's parents are Caribbean, but I don't know exactly where home is. And then Mal said that how they handled conflict was trash, continued to be trash after filming. So that's what led to the breakup. Are you shocked? Are you?
No. Hell no. Like they needed to not be together. Um First of all, Mal is just a precious soul. I think Mal is like number one bae for a lot of people right now in terms of like, I was watching this season and I definitely had a mental checklist like, wow, Mal is checking off a lot of things for me in terms of a
Mm.
partner. So I feel like Mal just deserves so much more than what Yoli was giving. And Yoli was flip flopping back and forth all season. I think I could see this experience being something that like showed Mal who Yoli really is. Like there were moments where it felt like Yoli was acting brand new over Xander. And actually I rewatched the first episode and Mal had said something. Mal was like had that line about, Yoli
Falls fast.
Mal that, but also like Mal not knowing what specifically about themselves makes Yoli feel like they're the one,
Absolutely.
and that Mal's afraid that through this experiment, like Yoli might turn around and be like, I'm in love with someone else. And that's exactly what happened. Like that is exactly like Mal called it before the show even started. Mal called it. And Yoli said something like, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's what Yoli said, and that's
Sure
exactly
did.
what Yoli did, and it's like it's wild because I actually was rooting for Xander and Yoli at one point, but I also was like, Yoli needs to break up with Mal for this to happen, and so
Yeah.
that Mal can find someone who is way better for them, right?
Yeah.
But I think that Yoli was I don't know. It seemed like Yoli was infatuated, whether intentionally or not, was infatuated with this idea of two people pining over her. And I mean, I'm sorry, I had to say it. Like it, like
It's true. It's true.
Yoli showed up to Xander on the engagement episode, took off her ring.
Because she wanted to hear what Xander had to say.
She wanted to hear what Xander had to say without seeing the ring. Like she
She wanted
wanted to hear,
affirmations.
oh Lord. Like,
And like it just harkens back to when Mal and Yoli had that big like discussion slash argument of like, what do you want us to do? You want us to fight for you and like die for you? And like that also makes me so angry when like Yoli tried to twist things after the party and tell Mal, well, you were taking my agency away. Nah, because down to the last second you were still playing with people. And Mal seems to know you so well. Mal probably knew you would have done this to the very end. Like, make a decision. That's the whole point.
I mean, that is what Yoli did to the very end. And I think what's heartbreaking is that Mal seems like the kind of person who is very loyal in a relationship and will exhaust all their options until the end, right? Like the fact that Mal proposed, that wasn't a happy proposal. There was not, it didn't feel celebratory. It just felt like Mal was just like, I'm gonna be here for you. Like Mal kept saying it, I'm here. Yoli will be like, I'm still in love with Xander. And Mal's just like, well, we'll figure it out. Which to me was giving, and this goes into some of the nuances that I think this show is not ready to dive into around queerness. To me, yeah, Mal saying that was kind of giving like a little poly, like maybe Mal would have been open to an open relationship if
Yeah.
Yoli did want to get married. Like maybe Mal was basically kind of saying like, okay, like I still love you. I know you love Xander. We want to be together. Like you can also be with Xander. I felt
Mhm.
like that's what Mal was probably alluding to. We don't know, but why else would someone still propose to you when you just told them you're in love with someone else?
I got
Right?
the same vibe. I got the same vibe. And polyamory did kind of come up in the season. It was like, I think the first episode where someone brought up, well, what if we all just like dated each other and was like a polycule or something? And they were all laughing and joking. And it was like Mildred who was like, nah, never. And Tiff too. They were like, we're super monogamous. Which I
And super toxic, which those things are not
they're not
synonymous.
exclusively
They're
to
not
each other,
exclusive. Yes, they're not exclusive because
but
poly people can be toxic too. But
it was no surprise. It was no
Mhm.
surprise that they were both like, no, no. So yeah, it does come up. But yeah, this show and its format is solely like, and like almost all hetero dating shows are like this. They'll take hetero people and put them technically in a poly situation.
Yes,
But if
yes,
we ever
yes,
dared actually went down that road, it would be, oh, that's so weird and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah,
exactly.
at the end, it's supposed to be monogamy. Choose one person, the winner, and that's true love. And it's like, y'all wild.
But they're utilizing polyamorous concepts in a
Mhm.
way to incite drama, in a way
Exactly.
to incite like hetero drama, basically. Because
Exactly.
it's like if like everyone's dating each other, everyone's like getting really intimate and comfortable with each other, but then you want to pull them back and be like, you got to choose one person to be with now. Like, I mean, essentially dating in real life is, well, this is a reality show, so it's still real,
It
but
is.
like dating in like real life without cameras is essentially like you are dating multiple people and then you choose one or more people that you would like to continue something else with, right? That you want to grow something with. But I think like yeah, the way that it's used in these shows, it is to like create a certain kind of tension, to create a certain kind of build up, and to like confuse the people on it, and
Mhm.
they end up getting hurt when it's like I wonder if there are ways to explore different possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Um, like what if the trial marriage happened before the new marriages, right? Like what if we saw what these couples are like together for 3 weeks and then they broke up and were with a new couple and then they have a decision, right? Like I wonder how that format would change the show versus we know nothing about the original couple. We see them in a new relationship and then we see them with their original partner. Like
I think it would take away a lot of the drama, you
it would
know?
take away so much. Yeah.
So they're not
So
gonna do
much.
it.
But I'm interested in that dynamic because I want to get to know Yoli and Mal before they're stripped from each other. Like, I want to know what that was like.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and other people too, right? Because I think as a viewer, when you see it the way that it is now, I mean, sometimes you end up, hmm, it's just a different experience. And
Mhm.
there's ways that, like, you probably didn't notice something about a person before or like a pattern that this person has that you would have seen sooner if we see them together for longer.
Yeah, Mal also talks about the closure, like, well, the talk that Yoli had with Xander at the last group party setting, and they said that they thought that was a closure talk, not the flirting, hand holding.
Yeah.
And also called out Yoli for being kind of deceptive. Yes, Yoli said, I'm in love with this other person, but Yoli apparently texted Mal saying, you don't have to worry, and kind of like trying to be reassuring, and then kind of pulled the rug out from under Mal, which Mal again said, that was unprompted. You texted me during your marriage to say that.
I mean, it goes back to our theory before that, like, it seemed like Yoli wanted to have both balls in her court. Oh, that's a gross analogy. But like, she wanted to make sure she had both of her romantic options always at bay, right? Like, it seems like by reassuring Mal that like they are still going to be together, but also reassuring Xander that Xander's her number one, it's like, why play both sides of the field, right? Unless you either want to make sure you leave with someone, or you just sincerely need to feel validated by both people, right? Like, and when they had that fight, when Mal and Yoli had that fight, and Mal was sitting on the kitchen counter, I love that scene.
Just being gay.
Yeah, like I love that scene for Mal sitting on the kitchen counter. Like, it was so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Mal gets heated and it's just like, just let me go, and Yoli's like, I can't.
Oof.
Because you know that Mal is a good partner. Like you're probably not still in love with Mal anymore, but you know that on paper, Mal is amazing, right? And you're being possessive. Like, you don't want Mal to be happy with someone else, even though they're not happy with you.
Exactly. Like, it's so wild because, like I said, the whole season, Yoli has downed Mal as a roommate, as a sexual partner, as like a potential like co-parent.
Yeah.
Like, it came by the end of the season, I was questioning, what do you like about Mal? Because I haven't heard it this whole entire time. And then still saying like, yeah, but I don't want to let you go. And the face Yoli makes when she makes this is like always.
Yeah.
I can't. And it's yeah, I think on some level she has to know what she's got, or else it's like, it's so hard to let go though.
Well, I think that Mal gave Yoli a strong sense of security, but I think at the end of the day, like, the romantic attraction was probably waning. But I think that if you've been in a relationship for a long time, like, you do have to reinvigorate the romantic connection consistently, right? Like, it's not just rainbows and butterflies all the time. Like, sometimes it is just about like, yeah, like I have a strong bond with this person. Maybe right now things are not as spicy as it was on day one, but like, there's ways to reinvigorate that. But it also just seems like Yoli got swept up in like the newness and the sexiness of Xander, and was ready, but also intellectually knew that, like, all right, I can't just like give up this long-term relationship for like this new seemingly amazing one, right? Like, I think Yoli knew that didn't make sense, but also wanted to do that at the same time.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, like, okay, this might be a this might sting. I hate to make this comparison, but it's giving, I can't remember her name, but it's giving the white girl with the blonde hair from Love is Blind, who was just like, I'm gonna let you answer this before me. It's kind of giving that, where it's like, I think if Mal walked away, Yoli would have left with Xander. If Mal didn't propose, Yoli would have had her excuse to be like, you see, Mal never wanted me, like, let me go to Xander, right? Like, I think, but Mal is not that type of person. Again, Mal will exhaust their options because they they're loyal to Yoli, right? And I think Yoli knew that. And maybe subconsciously Yoli was trying to push Mal away, right? But I don't know. It's complicated. But I think, yeah, but I think if Mal would have left, Yoli would have had her reason to be like, all right, Xander, let's run off into the sunset together. I don't feel bad. Like, there's no guilt. Yeah.
And Mal was like, oh, I wish you guys just tried dating. And then Vanessa's like, they did. Mal said, no. I mean, like, in the wild, Vanessa, they did. And then Yoli trying to act all stank and being like, is there anything else, Vanessa? First of all, Vanessa only comes through with facts. That's all.
Oh, yes. That is the one thing I'll give Vanessa. But I want to rewind real quick. The fact that like Mal had like the security and compassion within themselves to be like, yes, watching Yoli and Xander hurt me, but at the same time, I was like, this is cute.
Yep.
Listen.
Yeah.
Mal, you are amazing. Like that was the most secure thing to ever say. Like, yes, this hurts, but also like y'all should give this a try. Like, I recognize that y'all had something and it was kind of cute, even though y'all fucked me over. That's wild. That's a lot. That's a big person.
Alisha, do you think you could be as big?
I've
heard you. I don't think
I don't think so. I mean, it depends on the person. There's definitely some people from my past that like I will genuinely be happy for them if they found someone that they loved
while you were still with them. Exactly. There's a betrayal here.
There is a betrayal. I mean, there's so much to learn from Mal, right? It's like, because I think Mal just knows that they're a bad, like they just know that they're a bad bitch. So it's like, you betraying me, it has actually nothing to do with me. Like, I know I'm the shit. Like, this is all you, boo-boo. Like, I think that's so admirable, like that confidence that they have. So I will hold on to that for the future if I ever get betrayed again. But
never again.
Never again. Yes, never again. Hopefully. But if it does happen, I am enough. I'm a bad bitch. Like, it's not on me.
Exactly. Mal did say like the beauty of what you did, Yoli, is that everyone sees that I'm a great partner, and a great parent, because that's what Yoli kept trying to go for. I did forget to do updates for our last couple, so I'm gonna do an update for all of them. So Vanessa's. Do I have an update for Vanessa? I don't know whether she's single or with someone right now, but Xander did say in a cameo TikTok that right now they mostly talk to Ray. They said no to rekindling things with Yoli, and they're at different spots in their lives. Meanwhile, Yoli said that she talks to Ray every day. She said she checks in with Xander often, which kind of goes against with what Xander just said. But you can tell me if that is true. And then she says she's cool with Mal and she's not dating anyone. Do we have, who else did I miss anyone? So Vanessa, Xander, Yoli, and Mal. Mal, I can't tell if Mal's single or taken, honestly. Oh, Mal said that Lexi will be in her life forever, though, and maybe one day they'll be romantic when Lexi is older. Mal's closest friendship.
Okay.
Very interesting. Even with Lexi being in a relationship, I think Mal's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna put that
Mal knows that anyone can get it if they wanted to give it to someone.
Exactly. But like,
yeah.
Respect to Lexi and her new partner, but just saying. And then Mal said that their closest relationships is Lexi and then Sam. So those are the updates.
Okay. Okay. I like the sound of all of that.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you told me that I shouldn't talk to my you be telling me not to talk to my exes. It's nice to hear that that some of these exes are still cool.
Yeah. I think being
So
cool
it's
doesn't mean
possible.
no, you know?
What?
Being cool doesn't mean you necessarily talk. Like the vibe I'm getting from a lot of these people is like, I love this person. I spent so many years with this person. If we ever need each other, I know we would be there, but like I haven't seen you in forever. And like that's probably the best place you can get to when it comes
Yeah.
to an ex. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, and it's so interesting, right? Because this show was filmed in 2021. So we had so much time. I feel like any other show, because they usually try to at least come onto Netflix a year later, the cast is then trying to hang out with each other, do some like
Mhm.
TikTok stuff, let's ride the fame. But it feels like there's so much distance because it's been so long that it's like you're naturally seeing like what the real connections like came from the show and how people
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised about Lexi and Mal staying friends. They seemed like they would stay in each other's lives. Um, but there was something you said that made me think it would be good to pivot to Mildred and Tiff. You said, oh, about being at the best place with a partner is being
Mhm.
able, not with an ex partner, is
Mhm.
being able to say, like, we're not really in each other's lives, but we have love for each other. And if they ever needed something, I got them. And that made me think about how when Tiff reached out to Mildred about their dog being in the hospital, it seems like it was that kind of connection they were hoping for of like, we're not together, but like this creature that's very important to me is unwell. And like, you've known this dog through their health issues. Like, can you support me right now?
Yeah.
And I feel like they were met with first a lot of interruptions, but also a rejection. And
It
let's
wasn't
let's get
even
into them.
I don't even know if Tiff, from what we heard, was even asking for support. It was like just
Mm.
to let you know. Because I've had that happen with exes. I had an ex who, like, literally lost his mom, like, not too long after we broke up. And he called me and was just like, just to let you know this happened. Like, that's a normal thing. And I think
Yeah.
Mildred was trying to make it into a manipulative thing. Like,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
using this dying dog to get back in my life. And that's a
Which is such a
wild,
fucked up thing to say. Like,
wild
which is
accusation.
such a wild thing to say, right? Like,
All right. So this is how I want to do the Tiff and Mildred stuff. Obviously, warning for domestic abuse since it was mentioned in the show. I don't want to go rehashing line by line what Mildred said. Instead, Tiff has come out with their own video. You can find it on YouTube called My Side of the Story on the Fweebs, FWEEB as in boy S podcast. I will link it in the bio, but I will bring up basically Tiff's rebuttals to Mildred's accusations. So Tiff said that majority of the relationship they felt bad for Mildred, and that meant they kept feeling like they had
mm,
to be better for Mildred to stop calling them names or behavior that she might have learned from her past. Tiff said that they felt like a bad person and was in a cycle of being discarded by Mildred.
mm,
Sam helped them realize that they were enough, though. And every time Tiff left Mildred in the past, they were blamed. And they actually used Mildred blaming Aussie for for walking out. And which I at the time. I was also team Aussie on that. Tiff said Aussie had boundaries where they didn't. So that explains why Tiff actually did seem angry at Aussie when it came out that Aussie left. Tiff said that they explained this to Mildred and the term reactive abuse. They claimed that Mildred laughed and said, "You're not Johnny Depp." Mildred then tried to make her own TikToks giving her side of the story. I honestly did not watch all of them, but there was a time where she actually claimed her actions were reactive abuse, which Tiff then showed of like, this is allegedly a private conversation where she basically laughed at the concept of Tiff saying my actions are reactive abuse, then using it for her own explanation. Tiff said that they gave Netflix info about the DV case and the police report. They said Tiff didn't want to mention the case, but of course we see Mildred was the one who mentioned the case first. Tiff stands by calling Mildred a trash mom because she allegedly would abuse Tiff in front of the son. And Tiff said repeatedly, Tiff would be like, not in front of the son. Tiff said lastly that they did have new women at their house, but again, it was their residence. Mildred's stuff was just there, needing to be taken out. And they both wear eyeliner, so it made no sense for Mildred, who is wearing eyeliner, claiming she doesn't.
Got you.
Lastly, the whole board game, Tiff believes it might have been a deck of cards that has questions when you're first dating someone. And Tiff was just like, yeah, I got that because I was dating new people. And Tiff is very suspicious of why or how Mildred would know is in the mail that was not addressed to Mildred. So, hearing Tiff's side of the story, since Tiff did not get to share that on the show, yeah, does that, and a big thing that Tiff said is that at the end they didn't feel like they could respond to Mildred in a coherent way because Mildred was just stacking on accusation over accusation after accusation, and like even down to when Mildred's like, you tried to force me to pay like 2/3 of the rent. Like, Tiff was so confused just by that, because it's like Tiff at this point was like, maybe she was actually talking about a utilities conversation. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of confusion and gaslighting we saw.
Yeah, Mildred was such a terrible communicator and very, very self-centered in that relationship. There's so many things to unpack about their dynamic, like this one person having abandonment issues, the other person, and how that leads to that person like testing the other person's like boundaries in order to see like if they will stay. um Tiff's growth throughout the show, like Tiff recognizing that there's some toxicity in this relationship, recognizing ways that they could like improve on how they communicate their feelings, how they like talk about their needs, was a really big deal to me. And it just felt like Mildred felt like there was nothing that she needed to change about herself. And to hear all the ways that that relationship got worse after the show is really sad and really scary. And yeah, I think the demise of their relationship is like one of the like saddest reality TV show breakups that I've seen. Like it just felt like extremely emotional and like abusive, and the fact that like Tiff didn't even feel like safe enough to like vocalize their feelings in this moment because this person is like attacking them with all these accusations and not giving them a moment to express themselves. I completely sympathize with Tiff leaving. Um, and similar to Yoli showing her ass on this show, Mildred showed her ass on this show. And it's it's really terrible. I hope Mildred's in a better place. I really do. I hope Tiff is in a better place too. It seems like Tiff is like being away from the show, being away from Mildred, but it's really sad seeing how their relationship went downhill so much.
Oh yeah. I'm like so proud of Tiff. Like,
Yes.
Tiff was doing better even in the middle of the season, and we
Yes.
saw that. And even after, and talking about their experience, like, like people can come away with their own conclusions, but I think the biggest sign of Tiff was a victim of abuse is just all the resources Tiff uses in the video and like studies that they were talking about when it comes to like how abuse literally changes your mind. And you get stuck in fight, flight, or freeze or fawn, and that was the state they were in for a lot of this relationship. And I think we kind of see that. And we saw it also play out with Aussie. I really wish we got to see Aussie talk more about their experience with Mildred, because I can't believe Mildred just heard Aussie speak up saying like what just happened really reminded me of my experience. Like, I'm sure Mildred had something to say. But they cut it, and I think just wanted to move on. And like, I just really question like the producers of this show. They knew, according to Tiff, and still had these two people on the same stage. I think it would have been so much better if they separated them.
Right.
To talk about everything.
Because Mildred immediately took that portion of the reunion as her chance to make it about her. Like, as soon as Tiff started talking, she interrupted. And I also am really proud of Tiff. Like, I'm so proud of how they transformed during this show, and just like, I'm just so proud of them. But like, Mildred, man, it's hard because I do have compassion for like, I'm presuming that a lot of reasons why Mildred is the way that she is has, her abandonment issues, like how difficult it is being a single mother. Like, I can have sympathy for that, but I think she just, the ways that she's looking for like an unconditional kind of love from a partner is like, it's twisted and problematic in how she's expecting to have that with a person by having this expectation that they can withstand her abuse. And not seeing it as abuse, right? Seeing it as like actual needs or actual commitments. It's really, I hope that she's in a better place. I really do.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like much more to say on that.
I don't think so. Shout out to Tiff.
Shout out to Tiff for sure.
Shout out to Tiff.
I don't think I have an update with Tiff, but obviously Tiff has a podcast. Totally look into it, listen to it, support Tiff. Moving on. Our last couple was Aussie and Sam. Sam jokes about telling Aussie that engagement means getting married after, and that Aussie was a deer in headlights with that comment. They have compromised. Aussie tries to shorten the time they need space. And Sam gets, hopefully, her resolution. And then Aussie hasn't told the parents and is waiting to announce the engagement to do so. They plan to have a ceremony here and in Australia. Thoughts on this reunion moment and just their journey?
I'm looking forward to the future of Aussie and Sam. Like when I was rewatching the some of the episodes, I like there was a tenderness between them. And yeah, like I did have like mixed feelings around how Aussie handles conflict. Like on one side, I was like completely empathize with like needing space during conflict, needing to like take care of yourself and your emotions and like calm yourself down. But then on the other side, I was like, I don't know how sustainable this is if like any time that your partner needs to communicate about something that's on their mind or something that's bothering them in the relationship that you cannot be present for that conversation. Like that seems really like that's not a good practice long term. So but yeah, I do feel like very hopeful about them. And I did get mad at Aussie at the restaurant when like when Aussie was like, this is bullshit when Sam was talking. But at the end of the day, the proposal was adorable. And I did feel like especially after the talks that you and I have had like one on one, I felt like, yeah, this is the relationship that like this one communication tweak can open up a new realm for how they can be together. So like there's a lot of hope there. There's a lot of like excitement for what they could become.
Yeah, I have hope for them too. I think throughout the whole season, I had much more like compassion for Aussie um, than like the general public, and I think that's just as someone who I can admit I'm a little avoidant, um, but also
I
I
don't think you are.
well, I know, right? I'm like, I really bounce between whether I'm avoidant or not. Like, I get into it when I think it's a real problem, and I think for Aussie, my sympathy and where I could kind of see is the whole roommate bickering over like household stuff and cooking. That's when I get real avoidant of like, I cannot be bothered. And like, I don't know if that makes me like a terrible roommate or whatever, but it's like the most boring kind of conflicts. It's you
The
do
most
have to
boring kind
like
of.
it is. It's like one person who is like, I need the living situation to be this way. And then the person who has a different perspective is like, I like it this way. And it's almost always the person who has maybe higher expectations on like the cleaning and the cooking is like, this is an issue and you have to measure up to mine. And I don't always think that's like the solution. So like that's
Mm,
why
that's
I don't.
see that's really I have to disagree just because like I am not a person who can like I don't like the feeling of like not being on the same page with someone that you're living with in terms
Mhm,
of like
mhm.
how you keep the house or how you keep the apartment, whatever.
Yeah,
So I definitely feel like I'm probably the person who's just like, yo, you need to clean the bathroom, you need to clean the kitchen because like I'm tired. I've done it like the past 3 weeks in a row. Like,
yeah,
you know, but I think it is good to establish early on like what people's cleaning styles are, what their cleaning
yeah,
timelines are.
totally.
Um,
But
so,
I
but I
think
feel
like
like,
it was,
oh,
but yeah, I agree. But I think it is like if you ever just try to like meet in the middle, and like maybe there's a third solution. Like Sam's perfect because Sam had the solution that I have of like, let's just hire someone. Like
yeah,
if you have the funds to just hire someone, we don't have
yeah,
to talk about stupid dishes. I was like, Sam's
that's
perfect.
true. That's true.
Sam,
That is true. If you have the means,
yeah.
yes, that is the solution. But if you
Um,
don't, you know, most of us do not have those means.
yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
it is like, okay, how are we going to, uh, because like it can kill intimacy if like you're not on the same page of like how to take care of the home. So
and I agree, but I think it's also like making sure everything works for each other, because I think specifically with the Mildred situation is like I'm getting up early and I'm cleaning, and like Aussie just says I'm not even a morning person, you know, like the big thing was that Aussie, but like Aussie can clean at night, like that could be a proposed solution instead of, and I hate when these types of conversation then goes personal, you know, it's so easy because of how everyone has been raised around cleaning. Like some households, they say cleanliness is close to godliness, like they put it into a religion now. And like it gets so easy to like then feel as like the person who doesn't have like the higher expectations of feeling like shamed in some way, when it's just like it's different.
So like how would you like someone to communicate that, like, hey, can you clean the bathroom? Like how can a person communicate that without it coming off as like passive aggressive or like shaming, or especially if that person is like annoyed that it hasn't happened in a while, right? Like, because I think that also goes into it. Also, I didn't even know that this was a big problem for Aussie and Sam.
No, not Aussie and Sam, Aussie and
Oh, for
Mildred.
Aussie and
Because
Mildred, got
Mildred was
you.
like, you haven't cooked for me once and you've been going out, and like, and Aussie says, I've been going out with my friends almost every week. That's why I haven't been cooking. And then Mildred was like, well, why don't you bring me anything home?
That's valid.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I don't want to talk about Mildred.
I know. It gets
I don't
very
want to talk about
murky.
Mildred. Yeah.
It gets very murky because, like, of course, as your actual life partner, you would probably be texting, hey, babe, like, what do you want? I'm about to go home. But it's like,
right.
Mildred.
Right.
It's Mildred after like a few days of meeting her. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm still cool with like bringing the thing up. I think I think that's the biggest thing is like, don't wait. Actually, just establish the schedule. Establish the schedule, because I hate when it's so obvious someone is like, oh yeah, it's been weeks, and then they come with that energy when the other person has like this is the first time maybe like hearing it,
well,
whatever. So it's like, if everyone establishes a good schedule, or also come with it of like, it's not personal. Like, I think that's so interesting that a lot of people come into those conversations of, you don't care about me, obviously, because you haven't done like you think I'm your slave. And it's like, really, I probably had like a depression week. Like,
right.
I haven't been thinking about anything in a good second. It's not about you. I think that's when it gets so, and then it's like, you don't even want to be in the home. You do want to put on your backpack. Aussie had the backpack, the water bottle, and the sneakers to go every single time. And it's like, I relate.
I mean, that's real. And also, like, I try to hold space for the fact that, like, people, when it comes to, like, taking care of the home, people notice different things. Like, some people notice if, like, the dishes haven't been washed in a week, and other people don't think about that, right? Like, and then some people notice if the floor hasn't been swept in a while, and other people don't. And but I also think people do just forget. Like, even if a schedule is established, like, people still will forget, like, oh shit, today's Wednesday, I'm supposed to do this, right? Like, it takes time to build a routine. But I noticed that shit though. Like, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like certain things bother me, like dishes particularly. So But like, I think there is a way to gracefully communicate that of
Yeah.
like, hey, like this is actually I actually don't think it's a bad thing to make it personal if it's in a way of like, if it's in a way of like, this is a love language for me, right? Like some, like a
Mhm.
way that I feel loved is
Mhm.
if the dishes are washed, right? Or like a way that I feel loved is if the bathroom's clean. Like I
Mhm.
think there is a way to make it personal that is about like, this is how we can take care of each other, right? And like, and if you can't do it for a certain week or a certain day, like you can communicate that to me and I can do it, right? Or and instead of it building up and
Mhm.
I feel tight that like you haven't done this thing that I assumed you were gonna do, right?
I agree. And I think the difference there is like talking about your own feelings about a situation and then, but not projecting what someone
Mm-hmm.
else's thoughts or feelings might be. Like, it's just the assumption from one person of like, you're out to get me or you don't care about me because of X, Y, and Z, when the other person was probably in their own world for like other things. And
Right.
I still give Aussie kudos on that first conversation with Mildred. Aussie didn't run. Like, Aussie was just like, oh, okay, and was like really hearing it out. And it was then like conversation 2, 3, and whatever. And like by that time, I really questioned what was happening behind the scenes between Aussie and Mildred. And like Mildred brought up, and this is something I think of just with the Mildred and Tiff situation again. Mildred has a habit of wanting to be there first to tell the story. And Mildred was there first with Sam, of like, your partner
Mm.
isn't doing this, this, and this. How could you allow this? Like, Mildred flat out called Sam an enabler. We don't know that. Like, she she labeled Sam, made Sam feel guilty of like not treating Aussie a certain way. And then we later see Sam and Aussie going through it. Like, that's something
Right.
I also want Mildred to be held accountable for, because like, well, I know a lot of people really sided with Mildred's perspective on the situation. So what can I do?
Mm. No, that's real. And that's also like disrespectful to go back to the original partner and talk shit about their partner. It's like you've only known them for 3 weeks. I've known them for 3 years. Like there's things about them that I understand that you don't. Um Something that I thought was wild was the bathroom moment where like Mildred and Aussie were both getting ready in their own ways, and Mildred was like pressing Aussie about the bathroom, and it's just like, well, I'm in the bathroom now. Let me know when you need it so that I can stop and you can go in, and then I can finish getting ready. And it's just like that's so much to think about. Like, just let me know when you're done in the bathroom. Like, and I could imagine that like yeah, this was like they were about to go to like an event for the show. So I can imagine that maybe they only had like an hour, right? So like that's why Mildred was like pressed about timing. But to go from that to you're inconsiderate, like
To like
damn.
pin, like bringing up old arguments and being like, well,
Yeah.
we were great at communicating this time, weren't we? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I flip flopped so much on that scene because, like, to me, the first time I watched it, I was like, Mildred's in the wrong. Like, Mildred is literally making my blood pressure rise because it's like, we're talking about a mirror in the bathroom that you're currently using. So why are we going back and forth when I'm in the other room ironing? And then I saw other people have takes online, and I'm like, and then I rewatched it, and then I was like, okay, maybe Aussie was in the wrong. But I flip back now because it's like, yeah, Aussie was like, you only want to pick fights with me in front of this camera. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then Aussie being like, actually, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm going to leave. Is like, yes. Leave. I support it. But yeah, let's see if I have. So the only update that I have on Aussie and Sam is that they were already kind of like influencers before.
Mm.
So they said that they're still together. They're putting Keep It Saucy, which is S in front of Aussie's name.com. They had that website before, so they're gonna put it back.
Saucy. That's a good couple name.
It is.
That's so good. They should make a hot sauce.
Yeah. They look so happy. I know a lot of people want to have their different perspectives, but I think they're great. I know people also laughed at Aussie's like rock to Sam for the engagement, but like Sam's hella into tarot and is a mystical person. So I was swooning when I was watching it the first time.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely got worried because that rock scene was dragging, and I'm just like, is this all like is this the supposed to be in place of an engagement ring? And I don't even care about like
I know
engagements or
you
anything
don't.
like that.
You do not
But
care.
I definitely was just like, I know Sam wants a ring.
Yeah.
Like I know this bitch wants a ring. Like this rock is not enough. But I realized that Aussie was just dragging it to like for effect.
Yeah. So I think that is it for our recap. Alisha, what's a big last statement you want to give for a recap of the Ultimatum Queer Love?
Is that oh well something I was thinking about today is that like the I felt like this was a very like soft poppy season where like the mask presenting people were like really in like living in their softness and in their feelings, and it was actually like the femmes who were doing the most and who were like either exhibiting toxic behaviors or just like they just were doing the most basically, except for Sam. But like, yeah. So something. I mean, something that I will take away is like, yeah, move more like Mal. Like, there's like a smooth like calmness about them that I definitely want to hold on to within myself, but also for future partners. And that and you know thinking about Tiff, there's always room for transformation, there's always room for growth. And yeah, I think that's it for me.
Cool. I think for me, I hope there's a season two. If so, more people who are queer involved making the show, because
That
I
for
think
sure.
this would have been handled, the domestic abuse, I hope,
Yes.
would have been handled so differently than what actually went down. And yeah, there would be like more inside conversations. I mean, Jenna tried. Jenna was like, I know what a power bottom is. Like a
Yeah,
queer host
a
would,
queer host. And
yeah,
maybe like, oh, sorry, what were you saying?
just saying that would be lovely.
Yeah, agreed. A queer host and some more. I think they also need to queer up like the format of this show too, because I don't yeah, they need to queer it up. They need to queer it up.
It's not going to happen, but it's a lovely thought.
Maybe it could. Maybe it could happen.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. All right. Is
Yeah.
there anything that anywhere you want people to follow you, look for your work?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Are you
We could drop my website. No, actually, I need to redo some things on my website. So I guess I'll put my Instagram. It's at Alisha, Alisha, period, ACQUAYE. That's my IG.
All right. And I am your host, Nicole Weaver. We're going to come back with some more content. We're going to talk about Cruel Summer, which might be an unexpected choice, but we will explain later. Please watch with us and follow the Black by Reality on Twitter. It's just the handle is Black by Reality. So, and please subscribe if you want to look for more content on YouTube. Like, comment, give us your thoughts. Thank you.
Bye. A last statement. In terms of what? Like the whole show, or
Like what's your
a
biggest
takeaway,
is
or
there
like
is there anything that's going to stick with you from the show? Is there anything you're hoping if there's a season 2? Like what's the standout thought, I think?
something that I will take away is that something I was thinking about today is that like the I felt like this was a very like